CQ, this is WB6QLF standing by. Searcher out of Harmon, California. Is anybody in the void tonight? I'm looking for Diana Ross, but I'll accept any voice in the English tongue.
All right. Tonight, I'm sorry, when you guys watch this tomorrow or last night. Last night, I was on the GS channel, Gender Specific. Let me see, it's called the Trump Constitution Conversations, open panel. I was a guest, so look at that handsome face up there. He doesn't show. The guy right below GS, right above Kill Time, that's a handsome fellow. My memory was challenging me just recently on Rachel Maddow. I mentioned something. Let's play this if the connection will allow me. I do believe that the people have been the most effective balance for Trump. I'm sorry, is the video done? Oh, okay. A little bit early. By the way, newsflash, no angry words. It was a good conversation. Let's get to where the video was done before I go into my soapbox. How's it going to end? That's a good question. All right. A little bit back. Okay, let's try again. Interesting.
You're muted, GS.
How's it going to end? Great question. Finkel, you got the first thoughts on this, and feel free to.
If I go on too long, cut me off because I do get long-winded. Me? Get long-winded? Whatever am I talking about? I'm sure all four of you hate her. I love her. She's my favorite libtard. Rachel Maddow. A few weeks ago, if I can shorten the story enough, well, a couple years ago, which church was it? One of the bigger churches, not as big as the Catholic. I figured it out. It's Episcopal because I just rewatched the Rachel Maddow show I'm talking about. Catholic church, but I can't think of the name of the church. Huge
Latter-day Saints?
No.
No.
Protestant, Anglican.
Episcopalian. Evangelical.
Rats had it. Episcopalian / Anglican. Yeah, I didn't hear her last night.
Evangelicals? No. Okay.
It begins with an A. I can't think of it. Well, they have a huge presence, especially in New York City. They have like 3 to 4 cathedral-sized buildings that are always packed. They wanted to minister in Korean, so they brought over a priest from Korea to preach in Korean in Hangul. Well, that priest's daughter, under a special visa, after watching Rachel again, the daughter has an R2 visa and the priest has an R1 visa. Both are legal resident status in the United States. Both are approved by the government. And the daughter being 20, she still falls within the age of being eligible for that. And it was Purdue University in Indiana. I was right about the Indiana part. That gives them the right to be in the United States. She's going to college, I want to say somewhere in Indiana. ICE came and got her a few weeks ago. And I stand corrected, it was the previous Thursday. Now, those who follow me probably follow a lot of First Amendment auditing. And, when you detain somebody, you're only allowed to detain them for the amount of time it takes to write out the traffic ticket or perform whatever investigation you're doing. When they arrested this lady Thursday, so we got Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and most of Monday. Clearly, they knew that she had an R2 visa because of all the phone calls they got between Thursday and Monday. And what I'm about to show is how when we, the people, we, the Rachel Maddow audiences, not the 10 or 15 who watch me or the 30 or 40 who watch Channel Specific, but when you get a larger audience, when they get involved, that's the pushback to Trump. And that was my point here. And by the way, Monday, Rachel Maddow broke out with the story. As always, Killamilla was kind. Something that's new to me, Generally Specific was kind. Brick at this point hadn't spoken yet, but I watched a little bit later. He was kind. And Rats to the Moon was kind. When I was invited to go up on this panel, I was like, is this a trap? I was a bit paranoid because GS and I do have a history, less than desirable. But this is what, an hour and 34 minutes into his show, and he was kind to me from the start. I even it felt like sometimes he was walking on eggshells. He didn't want to offend his audience, and he didn't want to offend me. People have been teasing him about being on the fence. He was, I believe, pretty neutral, and he's seeing some things with the Trump administration that a lot of us have been seeing. So it was a good conversation. Let's see what else I got to say before I go over to Rachel. At the beginning of her hour, and before the end of the hour, the administration, ICE, whoever, got so many calls from Rachel's audience that the girl was released during that 1 hour show. And I think that's a good example. And by the way, GS was drinking mildly. I see some other folks, both in my circle, and Hill Pirates that. Oh, he's going to trigger Finkel into drinking. No, you can't trigger me into drinking. There's one human being on the planet who has control over my drinking or absence of drinking, and that's me, and how well I work my program. But I digress. This was a part of it. This is just moments before I left because it was time for me to boot up that computer. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Okay. Now let's present Rachel. Let me see. I have to stop this screen before I start this screen. Share screen. Share screen. Hulu. I didn't realize I can get Hulu on my computer. How about that? I can get Hulu on my computer.
The Rachel Maddow Show starts right now. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, Michael. Hey, you guys. Thanks so much. Much appreciated. And
when I push pause, you're supposed to pause, which indicates that maybe there's a connection issue. Okay. And I'll review this, make sure the sound comes through. We've tried to share streaming stuff before, and it didn't work. So we'll see. I see I have a low signal. All right. This is at the end of the show prior, which has changed now. It used to be, I can't remember the guy's name. It seems they've changed, lined up a little bit. These three host the show from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and then on Mondays, Rachel is next. The rest of the week, it's Jen Psaki. I'm really a big Rachel fan, and I get it. A lot of people aren't. But let's see what Rachel has to say here.
thanks to at home for being with us this hour. Really, really happy to have you here. 4 years ago, 2021, the Episcopal Church in New York scored a bit of a coup.
Episcopal.
New York is already a really
Episcopal Church is what I was looking for last night. All right.
important diocese in that church. They have the Cathedral of St. John the Divine, which is just a magnificent, massive thing you can't believe is in America. It's up in Morningside Heights in Manhattan. It is supposedly the 6th largest church of any kind in the whole world. The interior space is 600 feet long, which is like...
Now, one downside of Rachel, and I've been accused of similar, it takes her forever to land the plane. She's building a backstory, so you understand where we are when we get to what's going on now. But yeah, this is a pretty big church.
2 football fields minus the end zones. It's massive. They've also got this beautiful historic church, Trinity Church, down at Wall Street.
You may remember from the attacks of 9/11, 2001, a church seemed to miraculously survive. See in the background here, that's the New World Trade Center. When the Twin Towers were hit and some of the other buildings around it had problems, they're really surprised at the apparent miraculous survival of this church. Everyone said that the church, some people say it was some kind of miracle that the church survived. That's the Trinity Church on Wall Street. Just actually, if the new World Trade Center is exactly where the old one is, actually, I may have my churches confused. That seems like a block or two away. All right, scratch that. There was a church near the footprint of the original World Trade Center that survived. I thought it was Trinity, but let's continue.
And it really is beautiful. It is also just completely incongruous with its surroundings. You almost can't believe it's there, even when you're standing right there looking at it in the midst of all these white Wall Street skyscrapers. There's about 50,000 parishioners in New York's Episcopal Diocese, and it's a really diverse group of people. There are Episcopal and Anglican churches all over the world, and since people from all over the world end up in New York, which is the cosmopolitan hub of the universe, the result for a church entity like this is that the Anglican and Episcopal Church in New York is just tremendously diverse. And in 2021, 4 years ago, the Episcopal Church in New York, they scored a coup when they brought in a new priest. A big deal, an international.
She's calling her a priest. I don't know much about the Episcopal Church's structure. I thought only Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, and Latter-day Saints, Mormons had priests. Apparently, the Episcopals have priests and bishops, and too. My church has a reverend, Dr. Reverend, in fact. They have a doctorate and a theology. Okay. So this lady is a priest. That might shock a lot of people familiar with the Eastern Orthodox and the Catholic, because what, a woman, a priest? Well, that's the title Rachel's calling her. I don't know much about it. So, but she's here on a R1 visa. It's very similar to if someone's working in an embassy from overseas. They have a special visa. It's supposed to say, government, keep your hands off. The worst we can do is send her out of the country. We can't arrest her. We can't detain her. And what is that? Hold on. Work issue. Let me pause. Pause. All right, and we're back to recording. Okay, I forgot where I was. Priest, R1 visa. Daughter, R2 visa. Very similar to diplomatic community. Not quite diplomatic. I mean, if they commit a crime, then they're in trouble. But with diplomats, if they commit a crime, just escort them out of the country, revoke their status. But R1 and R2, if they commit a crime, then you can detain them. But let's see what happens to the daughter on the R2 visa.
Pioneer to serve New York parishioners, to serve in their Asian communities ministry. South Korea is one of the countries that has a big, influential, important Episcopal church. The first woman ever named to be an Episcopal priest in the capital of South Korea, in Seoul, she was recruited by New York in 2021. She was recruited in 2021 to leave South Korea and come to New York to serve Korean parishioners in New York and other Asian parishioners here in New York City. The Episcopal Diocese in New York has about 500 priests, women and men. They bring over this pioneering Episcopal priest from Seoul in 2021. They told her, come work here. We need you here. We'd love.
Maybe that's why we don't have priests. So if I did the math right, 50,000 parishioners, 500 priests, that's about 1,000 parishioners per priest if you broke it down evenly. My church has 300 members of the congregation, so I guess we don't get priests.
To have you here, bring your family. And she did. There's a special kind of visa for that, it turns out. If you are a priest or some other kind of religious worker, you get an R1 visa. And if you are the spouse or child or other family member of the priest, you get an R2 visa. And an R2 visa is how Yong-Soo Go came over with her mom from South Korea. She came over with her mom, the priest, when her mom went to work.
Does this look like a hardened criminal? I get it. You can't tell a hardened criminal by their appearance, but I don't even for a second get a vibe of hardened criminal. R2 visa, student, daughter of priest.
Work for the Episcopal Church in New York. And Yong-Soo enrolled at Scarsdale High School. She did great, made lots of friends. She got good grades, graduated from high school. She got into Purdue University in Indiana. In this past year, she enrolled there as a freshman. She's enrolled at the Purdue College of Pharmacy. And like I said, she's on an R2 visa as the priest's daughter. Family says the visa is valid. Her visa is in effect. It's legal. She has done nothing wrong that anybody knows of, that the government has alleged. She's done nothing wrong.
And that's part of the conversation we had last night. GS was talking about how the parts of the Constitution are removed from a website, Library of Congress website, I believe. And that part was specifically about habeas corpus, which is the due process of having the accused or someone representing the accused in a court. This young lady was detained for 4 days, part of which no one knew where. GS had a name for it, a place of forgetting. It was French. I can't remember. Je ne parle français, je suis bête. I don't speak French. I'm dumb. I don't know if I said that right. GS had a French word for places where prisoners are vanished. And that's what we were thinking happened to this young lady. At the beginning of the Rachel Maddow show, let me see, what are we, 4 minutes into the 9 o'clock show. And as of this time, let's see what Rachel says about it.
Again, she is here as the daughter of a priest. She's 20 years old. She has reportedly never been in any trouble of any kind. On Thursday, the Trump administration sent 5 federal agents to arrest her in New York. They arrested her. They then denied her bail. They denied her visiting privileges. They first put her in this facility where they have been holding people in Lower Manhattan, which is not a prison, not an immigration detention center, but they have been using it as one. She was then reportedly flown from there to the Trump immigration prison in Louisiana. As of tonight, local ABC.
Now, she's residing in the Manhattan area. She goes to school in Purdue College in Indiana. Why would they transport her to Louisiana? That's to take them out of court jurisdictions where a judge can say, you're doing the wrong thing. You're ignoring habeas corpus. Hey, I learned a new word last night. Yeah, it's crazy, but it goes a little bit further than a ICE detention agency. Now she is detained. The investigation is over. She's detained. They're preparing her for deportation. She's on an R2 visa. We know she's from South Korea. She probably has friends and family and support system in South Korea, but lately they've been deporting these folks to other places they're not from. So this was very concerning. And it doesn't just stop at the Louisiana, then it goes into a black hole. Let's hear about that.
7 in New York is reporting that her attorney tried to get a virtual visit with her at the Louisiana facility and was told that Yong-Soo is not there. And they won't say where she is.
She's been vanished. As far as anybody knows, lawyers, media, friends, family, co-students, she's been vanished.
So now no one knows where she is. On Saturday in New York, Episcopal clergy and Yong-Soo's friends and friends of the family turned up outside the federal building in New York to demand that she be released. They are planning.
This is good. People standing together. demanding rights. Here's the problem I see here. I'm going to guess there's less than 200 people here. We've seen much bigger protests, peaceful protests, violent protests, but we've seen much bigger protests of both kinds for much lesser situations. But Rachel changes this in the 1 hour of her show on Monday.
More demonstrations and rallies in her hometown this week in Westchester County, New York, and Scarsdale. People are doing what they can to try to get her out.
It's Gestapo.
This weekend in...
Okay, part of our Rachel stick is she likes to point out all the protests. And yes, some of them are much bigger for much lesser reasons. And then her show goes on. Doobie, 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 doo. Yeah, more show. This is funny. These protesters came to this guy's office and they turned on the sprinkler system. So they went home, put on their swim gear, and came back and then had fun. All right. And she goes over other news. And of course, that includes Donald Trump's. By the way, this woman here, Melania Trump, was a gift to this man from this man. They like to admit that part of the story sometimes. And this man is pretty much underwater on his approval ratings. His base is starting to realize, hey, this guy is violating the Constitution, and this guy is a diddler. Okay. 13 minutes into the show, we cover her again. I don't think this is the big news.
To make us unknow what we know. There's no way to make us unsee what we've seen. Nobody believes that the priest's daughter, the 20-year-old South Korean pharmacy student, is a, Tren de Aragua gang kingpin or whatever. Nobody believes that a foreign country invaded MacArthur Park in Los Angeles, and that's why you had to call them.
Right. A few weeks ago, these guys swept MacArthur Park, which was 90% empty. In fact, the only people who started to be there were people who were like, what are these guys up to?
The Marines. Nobody believes that there's nothing to see here when it comes to the president's years-long...
Okay, she's still wrapping up what she thought was the story on the R2 visa. Oh yeah, her point was the dictatorship is not coming, it's here. We are in a dictatorship. Can we get our democracy back? A representative democracy? I get it, we're not a pure democracy, we're a republic. Can we get it back? Let me see. What is this? Apparently she's talking about more ICE detentions. And this is... Oh, yeah. Trump has warned that he is going to go after citizens when he figures out a way to do it. So she's moved on from the story of the priest's daughter. And I thought she interviewed somebody. Oh, yeah, she's talking about the Iran thing. Okay.
Here now that these small d democratic tools that we've got right now as a country, these are as good as it is going to get. We are never going to have more resources.
I'm trying to get to the point where some good news came from this
show. They are
show.
refusing to be afraid to watch them and record them and show what they are doing.
Yes, that was a point that when I saw this, Angry Vet, Cliff, I can't see if you're in the chat or if you watch this later. You're not blocked because I'm not a pussy like Angry Vet and Cliff are. You're not blocked in my channel. And even if you were, you could still watch this. Rachel is reminding people to record, First Amendment audit, ICE and ICE adjacent, HSI, Sometimes they're using ATF, FBI for these warrantless arrests, these arrests without due process. You fucktards went after the cops for arresting or detaining. I'm not even sure if he was arrested. He was detained. That Press Harder guy. You were screaming and hollering at those cops. And Tav, that you weren't there for that incident, but you're very much aware that you, oh, there's a camera. You have yelled at cops for doing stuff outside the Constitution. If you're such lovers of the Constitution, find an ICE detention and go after those cops. They're the ones who are actually intentionally, literally violating the Constitution. And Cliff and Angry Vet, you both swore an oath to the Constitution to support and defend the Constitution against enemies, foreign and fucking domestic. These fucktards who are going outside of the Constitution, outside the law, to arrest people. You guys want to do a First Amendment audit? Audit those fuckers. All right. Let's continue.
Opposition politicians, Democratic politicians insist.
All right.
And this is not about partisan. This is about issues.
It was turning out to be the story of the century. Tonight, we're going to talk with Governor Kathy Hochul, one of the Democratic governors. There's so much going on, so much to get to. Stay with us.
All right, Kathy Hochul is the governor of New York.
Safe like we pay.
A few commercials.
The gloves are off. And
She did okay. So sometime after Kathy Hochul,
come to New York. I hosted them at the governor's residence this morning for breakfast and wanted
Paving the way for redistricting in New York, essentially to allow Democrats to take seats that aren't currently Democratic-leaning seats, the way that Republicans.
okay, I'm going to pause it there. Looks like we got 3 minutes left in the show. Looks like the show's been shortened. I'm going to see if I can find what I'm looking for so I don't waste your time. I'm going to pause it here and come back to recording. And I'm back, and the official MSNBC site cut out the part I was looking for. However, YouTube managed to preserve it. Don't know why that part was cut off. Let's get into it.
Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Rachel.
All right, we're going to take a quick break right now, but I have to tell you, since we have been on the air, something has happened. We've got an update on the story we started the show with tonight. You are going to want to see this. I'm going to have that update for you as we come out of this next break. Stay with us. At the top of the show, we brought you the story of an Episcopal priest from Seoul, from South Korea, the first woman to ever become an Episcopal priest in Seoul. She, in 2021, was recruited by New York's Episcopal Diocese to come here and be a priest here in New York to serve the Asian American ministry of the Episcopal Diocese in New York. Her daughter came with her from Seoul on the visa that they give to family members of priests and other religious workers. Her daughter, here on that valid visa, went to Scarsdale High School in New York, was an honors graduate, got great grades, got into Purdue University, was there attending the School of Pharmacy. With her valid visa, she was nevertheless arrested. The daughter was arrested by Trump's immigration agents on Thursday, which prompted a huge outcry from the Episcopal Diocese and from her friends and family in New York. Again, an honors graduate of Scarsdale High School and a current student going into her sophomore year at Purdue University in Indiana. Well, we brought you that story at the top of the show. We have now just gotten in this video showing that that young student, Yang Soo-go, has just been released from federal.
42 minutes before the release, she had been vanished. Arrested in Indiana, held for a little while in New York City, moved to Louisiana, and then vanished. And then Rachel broke the story, and 42 minutes later, they released her.
Custody after having been arrested by Trump's immigration agents last Thursday. Yang Soo-go was taken.
I'm sorry, 56 minutes. This is at 9:56 p.m. Actually, there's a little bit of delay, so I'm going to say 42 minutes again. Yeah, she's released back to her R2 visa status, which is almost diplomatic immunity. Not quite, but
in by ICE despite residing in this country legally on a special visa and never being in any trouble of any kind. Again, she came to this country due to her mother's work as an Episcopal priest in New York. But as you could see in that video, her mom was there as Yang Su was released this evening, tonight. She told reporters after having been released that it feels, quote, surreal to be free this evening after so many of her friends and community members and family members and her church advocated for her to be released. We'll be right back. 4 years ago.
Stop. Okay, stop sharing. All right. And that's what I was explaining on the GS panel last night. We the people got to get involved. There's other cases where enough people called ICE. A guy up in the Canadian-New York border, up there way up north in New York. Similar issue. Wasn't an R2 visa, but beloved by the community. The community banded together and bugged ICE, and ICE did give in and did release the guy. It's when we the people speak up and, oh, look at my hair. Oh boy. Okay. It's when we speak up and do something that things get done. Because I was explaining on the panel last night, Congress ain't doing it. They're laying down like the German parliament when Hitler was taking power. The courts ain't doing it. I mean, lower courts, yeah, but it's always coming to Supreme Court, which there's 3/3. 1/3 is appointed by Trump himself. 1/3 is acquiescing to the Republicans because they were appointed by other Republicans. And that leaves the minority 1/3 willing to stand against Trump. And we lose every time that it really matters. Long story short, we the people are the only resource left that can save America. Long story short, yes, even GS and I can get along, and yeah, it drives some people crazy. Sorry, we're going to have to work together to save this country, whether you agree with someone or not on other issues. GS and I think we're eye to eye on this Sean Porter Rabbit Pizza Girl union stuff. Yeah, it's yeah. Sometimes Americans have to work together, and I do believe this is one of those times. I better get going. Yeah. All right, I better get going. Cheerio.
Truman, report to the lab.